here is the inside of the shell, which, I mean, just looks, there's some dirt obviously there from where oil is flung off the armature, but it's so clean. I mean, just beautiful. You can see very clearly. We've got, if I can get my camera to focus, June 1950. So no doubt on when this was produced, but just beautiful shell, man. Way to go, John. Well done. Well done, you. All right, so I'll go ahead and pull the motor apart, and I'll bring it back to see what we see there. Okay, so here we go with our bits and pieces here. These, yeah, they're kind of worn. I don't know. They really should be okay for a royal blue. I think probably the greater issue is, it looks like the grooves on this thing are pretty packed, and I'm wondering if that's not helping things. I'm going to clean off the commutator surface. I don't think there's any grooves worn in it. It doesn't appear to, but without cleaning it, I can't know for sure. So I'm going to clean that off real good, and I'll bring you back to check the ohm reading on this and just see if that's an issue or not. Yummy. So if you're ever, interested in a great protein, no, don't do that. Anyhow, a lot of carbon on this thing. As you can see, cleaned up pretty well. In terms of grooves, obviously there's some wear, but it's very, very minimal. I mean, I'd say that looks really nice. So the next thing to do is check it for continuity, or check it for ohms, I mean. Okay, hands-free. Here we go, checking the ohm reading on the commutator surface. 1.4, 1.5, that's a really good reading. 1.4, 1.5, another really good reading. Hang on, come on. 1.5. Okay, so this armature and commutator check out. So I'm gonna continue to clean. Like I said, there's a lot of gunk in here, and one of the things I found sometimes is that this spring is really actually in great shape. Nothing wrong with that. But sometimes I've found that they get some debris in the barrels. Like, yes, this is not. It's not wanting to slide. It's gummed up. See how I don't know if you can see that or not, but let's see if I can show the camera. So if I push the spring, compress it, it took a while for it to shoot out. So something you need to watch for when you're working on your flyer engines is see, what does this look like, the end of the barrels here, and if they're, pretty filthy, then you want to use, again, CRC, a Q-tip, and go after those guys and get them nice and clean so that your brushes and springs are very slippery, so they just can flex and move, because you want these springs to act somewhat like the suspension system on a car. So as this thing's spinning and it's moving up and down, back and forth, as it reverses direction, and the speed changes, and the resistance on the motor changes, it's going to keep moving back and forth. So you need a spring that can keep constant pressure up against your commutator surface. And if this is getting a bunch of debris in here, so that it starts to hang up, so the brush can't push, with a little bit of pressure up against here, so that it's getting good electrical contact, then you're going to have happen what we saw right here. So the culprit is not the brushes, it's not the springs, it's the dirt right in here. So just so you know, one of those maintenance things that is a good thing to do every 50, 60 years. So here is another issue. This is considered a wear surface, and so you can see those holes. These are 2 reverse fingers, and they apply a light pressure against the reverse unit drum, and these happen to go down front. There's 2 different sets of them, front and on top. And this is how the engineers back in the day made a alternating current become a forward or reverse current. So it's super smart. But again, you can kind of see the holes on these fingers too. And so I've got some placements right here that I'm going to wire in. And that will go a long ways to getting this motor to operate, because as you might imagine, if you're trying to move current to the motor and you've got big holes, well, they're not big, but considering you've got holes in your contact surface, well, that's going to jeopardize how much power you're getting to your motor, which is going to then cause it to not run as well. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of those old ones. So out with the old, in with the new. All right, so one of the notes on John's list for me was he wanted these things to be tuned up. Well, may I present a finely tuned piece of 1950s technology before us here. Reverse. Forward. And we have a reverse unit that's behaving itself now. See that little tab movement every time we kill the power? That's exactly what we want. Now, one of the things that I find very helpful when working on these motors is the sound they make. Now, you noticed there's a different sound going forward than there is reverse, and the RPMs are higher going forward than they are reverse, which I'm going to leave it that way. Oftentimes it's the opposite. We're going in reverse is faster than going forward, so this is fine. And I'm going to go ahead and wind it out again, but the sound that I was looking for before I started video camera was kind of the whine, and I'm looking for, I don't know how better to describe it than a sweet sound from the motor, a place where you can tell the motor is just completely wound out. It's running freely and it's given everything it has. To me, that's one of the things that I look for when I'm working on these things. And then of course the other is, does it move freely? So what is the slow speeds, working? And once I get the side gear on, I'll bring it back. We'll take a look at how well this thing runs at slow speeds, because really when you've got all the wheels connected, that's the best way to kind of measure that. So here we go. Now, I've had the privilege of working on several of these Royal Blues by this point. Not all of them have run like this, but when they do, once they're back together, they are just phenomenal pieces of machinery. And so I'm looking forward to seeing this guy in action. It's going to be a joy to watch. So I mentioned the high end and the certain whine that I'm looking for with a motor, and then the low end, which means slow operation. And if those two things are occurring, then I know I've done everything I can to get an engine back in pristine operating condition. So here we have our 1950 Royal Blue. You'll see how slowly the armature is turning. And if you look over here at my transformer, it's actually as slow as I can get it, like it's in the off position. And the power being sent to the engine is strictly to keep the reverse unit from flipping for the solenoid. So that's exactly what I was hoping for. So just really slow and smooth. And that means we've got nothing binding and that kind of thing. So anyhow, Just love this smooth motion, and also huge fan of eccentric valve gear on a steam engine. So. No problem.